Hello, Flosstube. Elizabeth Martinez, phantastitches here with my Flosstube update number 416. And for some reason, the tune that came to my head is the Paul McCartney uh, uh, song from early in his solo career, where he's singing a Christmas uh, tune. He's simply having a wonderful Christmas time. um, so these are my little friends, this little gingerbread man and this little penguin. I got these last year at the dollar spot at Target, and I thought I came across them when I was, unpacking stuff. I thought, oh yeah, I get these little guys. So they're my little friends. They're sitting beside me here while I film my video. Anyway, today is Saturday, December 20th. Sorry the video is a little bit late in the afternoon. What is it? It's already after 5 o'clock. Um, I hadn't eaten lunch, so I ate lunch and then I promptly conked out and fell asleep. So. I'm wearing, by the way, I'm wearing this T-shirt. This is like one of my only have a few Christmas T-shirts. My friend Brandy sent me one that says "Joy" on it. That's a cute kitty with a black and white kitty hanging in a wreath. And she also sent me a sweatshirt similar to that. The T-shirt is red and the sweatshirt is blue. But then I have like a black T-shirt that says Santa Claus Claws is coming to town, and it's my winter all my winter clothes in storage. Um, and so and I have like a red shirt, uh, T-shirt that has like a V-neck on it, and I think I wore that last week maybe or the week before. I don't know, but I went to Walmart with my sister yesterday, and I bought this. It says "Stay Jolly." It has a little Santa Claus on there, and it says at the bottom, "My friends." I think here I'm pulling my shirt up. "Stay jolly, my friends," and I just kind of assumed, I guess, because it looks very much like the iconic Santa Claus with a Coke bottle, Coca-Cola bottle picture. It looks like that, but he's actually got a beer bottle. And there was like, I didn't mean to buy that, but it's okay. Uh, you know, I have people drink beer, I don't care. But I was like, I didn't mean to get a beer T-shirt. But I got this in the men's department because actually in the women's department there weren't any Christmas shirts except for like sweaters and sweatshirts and things like that. And I was looking for more of a T-shirt kind of thing. Anyway, so I got this in the men's department. Actually, when Eve and I were looking at the shirts and stuff, I think we were looking at this table that had, I think, folded up shirts. It was before we came across these T-shirts, but they were anyway folded up shirts on a table. We were looking through them, and and Eve just happened to, like, she was looking down or whatever, and she turned around and she hit her head on one of the like clothing rack display things. You know how the racks like stick out, all the clothes hang on them or whatever. And this one, it was almost at eye level. If she had been a little bit taller, it could have hit her in the eye, but it hit her like on the side of the head, and she actually hit it pretty hard when because she I don't know, turned her head or backed into it or something, and conked herself on the end of that rack. So hard. In fact, she said that, like, it's like in the cartoons when somebody hits their head and they see like stars, running around their head. She said it was kind of like that. And yeah, it was pretty painful for that she had like a lump there. Anyway, they're very nice to her at Walmart about like giving her some. They couldn't give her Tylenol, but they found it for her and she bought it, and they gave her some water to take it with. But yeah, it was really painful for her. So, but she she found a really cute shirt. Had a black dog, has a black dog wearing reindeer antlers. Like a little headband with reindeer antlers, and the dog on the front looks like our dog Hank. So it worked out very well. Anyway, but then also Christmas goodies. My friend Brandy, thanks Brandy, sent me a Christmas packet or gift that came today. Had this little card in there, and it says to my BFF. So thanks Brandy and Michael and their dog Madeline. And what she sent me was a pair of fuzzy Croc slippers. I don't own a pair. I don't own any Crocs. I had been, debating about whether or not to buy any, but these are for my speed. They're slippers. Yeah. And I tried them on already, and they're very toasty and comfy. So thank you, Brandy. I appreciate it. Um, okay. Oops. I don't want these to fall over. Here. There. So I've just been doing a little bit of stitching, of course, and I have one kind of change of plans, I guess. I'll get to that in a second. Um, so last week I showed you, I think, the Winter Woods Biscornu um, and the reindeer were two of my the reindeer was one of my WIPGO things, and I'd already done the blue penguins, which is another one of my WIPGO new starts. Excuse me. Um, and so with the Winter Woods Biscornu, I think I showed that I put in the cardinal and the head of the owl. So I didn't bring that today. I think I already showed, didn't I, about how I had to fudge um, the cardinal, and I sort of had give him little bent legs so that he would fit because of the mistake that I made in the corner where the cardinal goes. Anyway, so I did all that. So last Saturday I started on one of my other WIPGO whips, which is the Festive Forest um, that I let me get this over here where I can see it. Right. Um, Festive Forest, which was one of my classes that I took for Jingle Ball last year. This is uh, what did I say? Festive Forest, and we were calling it the muffin, a muffin. The shape, there it is. This is by the Blue Flower, and it's this little round shape here. You stitch, it looks like this when you stitch it. You stitch these, what are they, 6 little pointed things, and then you make it basically like a drum and like a biscornu at the same time. Because around the border, around these pieces, is a back stitch line, and you join it along the back stitch line the same way you do a biscornu, and it makes this little muffin shape. And you put it like a base under there, like you would for a stand up, and make the muffin shape, bring it around, and sew it together along the seam here, the backstitch seam, and you sew these little points together the same way along the backstitch seam. So you have it, comes together like this, and then she has like a little kind of button, not a button, but a thing up here uh, on the top. So anyway, this was the class last year that I took at the Jingle Ball. And so last year, the idea was, oh yeah, you can get stitching it before class, and some people did, finished it before the class. I didn't. um, and part of it was that I was debating whether or not to use the called for threads or to use the DMC alternatives, because it uses DMC, Weeks Dye Works, Cottage Garden threads, and Roxy Floss threads. And so I think there are DMC alternatives for all of those, but I think I had purchased the Roxy Floss threads and the Weeks Dye Works threads, but I had a hard time getting the Cottage Garden threads that I needed, the three colors. So one of my viewers sent me some, and actually for that and for another project that another blue flower project that I had that also called for Cottage Garden threads. Anyway, so I finally I think a couple weeks ago I ordered I found the Cottage Garden threads and ordered them all. So anyway, so I worked on this this time. So I finished this first little peak here. You can't. It's a little hard to see, but there's a rabbit down here, and and there's a bird here, and I did these leaves of the tree, and there's a cardinal up here, and I had the outline of these flowers here, and in the middle is is one of the Cottage Garden thread colors. So I finished this segment, and I started on this one, and I think I had done this part of the outline. I hadn't finished it yet, um, and down to about like I think I stopped right here. Um, so all of the fill in and all the animals here, finished all the animals. That was this past week, and then um, since Saturday, and all of this whole segment here. I think I had the lighter color like on these three sides of this. Uh, it's going to be a tree eventually. Um, so I finished stitching this lighter color, and then there's the darker color in here. I think is a DMC color that I want to go ahead and finish that. And I did this. This is the same light green. I think it's a Roxy Floss color. Um, so there's another leaf like this here, and I think uh, yeah, it goes up. There's another leaf and another flower. It's a big, sort of a big flower here. So the animals, the hedgehog, the squirrel, and this female cardinal are done. And I just have to put in that big flower. And I have done 6 of the 7 days of this one. If I had done it yesterday, I think, yeah, it would have been 7 days because I started it on last Saturday. So yesterday would have been 7 days, but I stopped, and I'll show you why. I just set it aside. I was kind of tired of doing it. I had done these leaves they're not difficult, but they're just it's a lot of stitching. Um, and I had done all the little animals. So and this is actually kind of difficult just because it's hard to see on the pattern. Um, but because the symbols are very much alike, and it's very dense, and it's a black and white pattern, and so it's a little bit hard. You have to like kind of pay attention to what you're doing. It's not very easy to see just off the bat. So so it's a little harder to do. So I want to finish working on that, but I had started working on this over here, and it's also just kind of yeah. So anyway, so I have another day to go on that, and I'm hoping maybe I can finish the details on this side. I don't know, and if not, I can at least like extend the border area around it. Anyway, that is Festive Forest by the Blue Flower, and this is 28 count linen that I dyed myself. This blue, it's blue. um, so that is Festive Forest. So I have one more day of this to go to meet my WIPGO goals, and then the rest of my WIPGO things. So I've done the reindeer and the blue penguin from Menagerie by the Blue Flower. The reindeer is by Cottage Garden Samplings. So I've done those already, and so Festive Forest has one more day, and then because this is the space number 13 was called for December. So um, I don't have it as a free space. I have, you know, a WIP in there. So there's three for this month. I have three WIPs and three new starts. So, like I said, Reindeer, Merry Menagerie. The Reindeer was 7 days. Merry Menagerie Blue Penguins was my new start for that square. So that's done. Festive Forest is another WIP. And um, so my last WIP of these three is one of those that's it's a WIP but a new start because it's part of a set of three. So what I did for my space number 25 is this Up on the Rooftop Stockings, and this was another class I took at the Jingle Ball. This is by Lindy Stitches, and so she made these three little miniature stockings. They're about this big, and they're designed as to be ornaments. You hang them by this little rickrack loop here, and so I have stitched. I have not made any of them into ornaments because I think last year when we were working on it, I had already put all my finishing things in storage, and so they're and I still can't get to them. They're buried under behind a bunch of stuff. Anyway, I had already stitched the cardinals before the class, and I just took notes on on how to finish it or whatever. And then earlier this year, I think, when was it? I don't know. On my WIPGO board, this came up, and so I did the deer here, the reindeer. So this month, the Up on the Rooftop, all that's left is the Santa going down the chimney. So this is the one I'm working on now, um, and I just got started on it yesterday. Yesterday? Yeah, yesterday, and I worked on it a little bit today. So there's the roof, the end of the roof here, and there's some holly berries there. And right now I'm working on. It's a little hard to see, but I'm working on the shingles on the roof. These little the light colored squares of the roof tiles here. That's what I'm working on now. And that's actually that section is almost done. There's like a couple of squares here, and then one more line here, and a line across the roof here, and then all the Santa stuff goes in the chimney. There's some brown or a darker brown that goes in between these little roof shingle tiles. Um, yeah, so this is the section I don't have enough hands. This is the section I'm working on here. So so then after that, there's this thing here. So it's kind of a lot of stitching. It's very dense, not as sort of open as these other two were. It's a little bit more, you know. But anyway, so these other stockings, I was able to finish them in 3 days or something. So I don't anticipate this taking that much, the whole 7 days that I've allotted to it. But theoretically, I have 7 days to work on this. And I'm going to try to uh, get it done as soon as possible. And actually, probably I can do that seventh day on the Festive Forest um, probably tomorrow. I don't know. I'm going to work on it. So anyway, that is Up on the Rooftop stocking Santa here. So, and I did all this I did the roof line in basically one day. This little, end of the roof here, and this stuff, the shingle thing I started today, I think. Anyway, so oh yeah, so this is 28 count linen, I think, also. So there's the reindeer, and there is the cardinals. This is the one I did first, yeah. And so now I'm doing the Up of the Rooftop. And so, Santa. I hope that I left enough space here, you know, to cut it and finish it. I think in her instructions she said like to leave like 4 inches between the stockings, and that's about three there. So for my other WIPGO squares, now I buried my WIPGO thing that I was looking at for reference. Ah, I'm causing a crapalanche. Um, yeah. So my other calls, the new starts, I had a Prairie Schooler Santa, which is this one here. And it's really not quite as much stitching as some of the other designs, but the Santa's kind of dense, and there's a little toy horse and a heart. And then everything else, there's a sort of a tree forest that's all backstitched, right? And the word Noel. So this is the 2024 Santa. But I kind of, I have maybe two or three of these unstitched. I think I've stitched two or three, and I have two or three to stitch or something like that. Maybe two, maybe three. I don't know. I know I've done the polar bear and a sheep. One with a polar bear, one with a sheep, and one called I think it says North Wind or something. It's Santa Claus, and he's got these little bunnies. One of them's hanging on his leg, and his ears are flying back in the wind. I really like that. So, but I've finished stitching them, but I have not FFO'd them. I don't think, or maybe I did, and they're in storage. I know I have several. All my Christmas ornaments that I stitched are in the storage unit. So yeah. So they're those one of the Santas I finished, I gave to my sister Naomi. I made a little pillow out of it, or a little really bad pillow, because it was like one of the first things I finished. But the other two, like I said, I finished stitching them, but I don't remember whether I made them into ornaments or not. Um, but so I have this one. I have the one with the lights. Um, and I have the like two penguins and a string of lights. I have that one, and I have, I want to say one other one. I don't know, but anyway, um, but I debated about, I put this on there just because I thought, well, I gotta stitch it one of these days. But I, yeah. So I decided, I don't feel moved to stitch that Santa. I may in the future, but not right now. So one of my other new starts for the other square was I thought I had the pattern here, and I don't know that I do now. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Quirky Christmas. This is Twin Peak Primitives Quirky Christmas. And so there's like 9 little designs, little ornament size designs. Except I'm doing them on 28 count uh, um, like linen, and so they're a little large for ornament. They're about like, I made one of them, and he's about this big, Nicholas. This little guy here. So it's kind of a big ornament. It's kind of big for an ornament, but it was the fabric that I had on hand. So, um, and I thought I had actually on my WIPGO board I had wrote that I finished it, but I didn't finish it. I was looking more closely at it, and see these little white squares. There's supposed to be a lot of back stitching up here on his hat, and this one here, you can see, it's kind of like a little star shape, whatever. There's back stitching and French knots. It's supposed to be the same thing over here, and then this and this hand is supposed to be the same way. I think they're just like Smyrna crosses or something on his on his mittens. So there's this one here, but I didn't do the other one here yet, and I haven't done the little back stitching and French knots here. So there's some little details, that are. I did there's back stitching here on his boots, so I did that, but I didn't finish, so it's not finished. um, so anyway, but one of the other squares, the last square was to choose one of these quirky Christmas ornaments to put in that square. And so I had, in my mind, I had chosen this, which they call gonks, which we would call gnomes, um, here. And so that was the one I was going to do. But then instead of doing the Santa, the Prairie Schooler Santa, I thought I would choose another one of these quirky Christmas patterns. And there's this owl here, which is what I'm thinking of. And there's an angel, there's three wise men, there's a Christmas tree, Santa Lucia, and this elk, and this is a Yule goat, I think it's what it's called in the pattern. It's a goat. It's like made out of hay or whatever. Um, but there's a Christmas elk here. Yeah, like I said, this is an angel. This is Santa Lucia, the wise men, a tree, gonks, and this owl. So, so instead of Prairie School or Santa, I'm going to substitute another one of these. So I'll be starting two of the quirky Christmas things. And I don't have a goal for my new starts, so just like a day stitching on it would be enough to call it done, call the goal accomplished. But Nicholas was one of my new starts back in April, I think it was. Yeah. Um, I worked on it in April, and like I said, I thought I had finished it, but when I was looking at it in more detail, I was like, no, I didn't finish it. So, yeah. So I would like to finish this, and then work on the other two new starts. And I'm gonna. This is a piece of linen I had used for something else, but I think I can fit at least, So there's Nicholas. So you can see he's kind of big, you know, considering that he's supposed to be an ornament. I think it doesn't say on the page here that I have, but on the page, the pages I have for the individual ornaments, it says what size fabric they stitched it on, and I think it was like 18 count Aida, which is 36 count uh, linen, for instance. I think that's what it said. But anyway, it's a smaller count, I think. Um, but since this is like, I believe 28 count, maybe it's a little bit smaller. I don't know. It might be 28 count. Um, but so they're all going to be probably a little bit, on the big side. The little gonks are not as tall, I think, but maybe wider. Um, and then the owl is pretty dense stitching, but it'll fit very nicely on here as well. It's probably about the same size as Nicholas here. I don't know. I have to look, but anyway, so this is it's like a natural color or whatever, but it's 28 count linen, and so I'm gonna have to make sure I've got them spaced apart enough that there's uh, material to finish them with. Um, but in finishing them as ornaments, I don't have to have a whole lot of finishing material. And I haven't thought through how I'm going to do them as ornaments. Probably just of like a flat finish kind of thing, and with an ornament hanger sewn in there or stuck in there, whatever. You'll see. Um, but and one thing that's kind of interesting on Lindy Stitches on her website, she has like pre-cut pieces of mat board, kind of to finish ornaments on, and they have them in different sizes. So like actually they have one that's that's a good size for finishing these Prairie Schooler Santas on. But so so you can order like it's a set of I think they come in sets of three or something like that. But anyway, you can order like small, medium, or large squares of mat board. So they're pre-cut, so you don't have to cut them necessarily. It just depends on what the size of your stitching is. But so I was thinking I might do that. I might stick a crowbar in my wallet and buy these pre-cut pieces. I don't know if you can see it behind me. There's a piece of mat board, but it was in the storage unit, and so it's creasy. It's got some bends and stuff in it. Um, but also it's one of those things that you'd have to cut it apart to use it. And I'm very tempted by this Lindy Stitches, pre-cut squares. That might need a little trimming to size if they're not the exact size that I need or whatever. But it's a lot easier to just you can just shave off a little bit, trim a little bit to make it small enough if you need to without having to measure and pre-cut, a whole big, a whole square off of a big piece like that. I mean, I've done it and I can do it, but you know, it's a little bit less labor intensive to buy a pre-cut square or whatever. So, like I said, I'm very tempted to do that. I have to, I'd have to look at see what sizes they offer and how much and whatever. But that's an idea, for finishing. So, um, so like I said, I think poor little Prairie School Chance is out, and the Quirky Christmas. I'm going to substitute another one of the designs for Santa, and I'll do Prairie Schooler Santa someday, but not this month. um, yeah, so I think that's pretty much all I have going on. It's down to the wire basically for Christmas. Christmas is coming. It's very soon. Um, uh, and but I think I've gotten all my shopping done, all my wrapping done. Um, I have my stocking gifts done. The one thing I did when we were at Walmart is I bought. I had wanted to buy something for the dogs. I had a pack of those true treats for the cats, for my cats that I had bought, because I was trying to get my cat Snug. He's generally more food motivated, and he really liked those little churro squeezy treats. Um, he liked those, and I was trying to get him to eat because he was so skinny. But I think he was just shutting down, and he really ate very little. And so I had just ordered this package of churro treats, like a 10 pack. And when I had made the decision to put him to sleep at the beginning of the month, earlier this month, and so I had this package of 10 treats and 10 of those little squeezy treats. And my cat Puck is, yeah, he's okay. He's not like, he doesn't go bananas for them. But I am giving those as stocking gifts for the cats, right? For my sister's cats, Rachel's cats, and then Puck's getting the other two. um, so they each have two cats, right? Um, Naomi has Calvin and Hobbes, Rachel has Nimbus and Hestia, and then I have Puck. So yeah. Um, um, Actually, I should I should buy a couple of for Naomi's outside cat. They call who they call Creamsicle. Uh, Creamsicle is just a cat that sort of wandered the neighborhood and ended up coming by their backyard, and they started feeding her. They assume it's a her. I don't know. And they made a little outdoor warm house for the cat. And so yeah, so Creamsicle comes and hangs out in the backyard. So when I house sit for her, I had to feed Calvin and Hobbes, but I have to feed Creamsicle also. Anyway, So had gotten the churro treats for the cats. I had decided to give them to the cats, and but then I thought, I don't have anything for the dogs, for our dogs, Rogue and Hank. And so when I was at Walmart, I got them just some little, they're like reinforced, rubber, chewy ball things, um, and they're not. It's not too big for Rogue and not too small for Hank. These balls, they're about about the size of a tennis ball, um, but they're a little bit tougher, so they're because Rogue has a tendency to destroy, and if you get her like a stuffy, she'll tear it up and take the stuffing out of it in like a day or two. So so you know um, I didn't want something that was going to be too big for her, and I didn't want something that was going to be too small for Hank. If they left their toys out lying around, I didn't want Hank accidentally choking on one of Rogue's toys or something like that. So I was able to find something appropriate. I think that it'll work for either of them, for both of them. So anyway, yeah. So I got dog toys last yes a couple of days yesterday, a couple of days ago. Anyway, um, yeah, yesterday. Yeah. So anyway, so all my shopping is done, and so I'm the one thing that uh, that I'm kind of dreading is my but I'm going to do it, I think. But um, in our family, we have a tradition of making sour cream sugar cookies. When we were kids, my mom came across this recipe, and it was like on a a sour cream brand of packaging that I guess that she came across, or maybe it was in a magazine. I don't know where she came across it at first, but so she used to make those when we were kids. But the only thing is that the dough is very sticky, very very sticky. Even when you chill it, put it in the refrigerator and let it chill. It's very sticky. You have to flour everything within an inch of its life. The table that you're rolling it out on, the rolling pin, the cookie cutters, everything has to be like just dusted with flour within an inch of its life. Even your hands, because it'll just stick to you like and so in the last couple of years, we've been thinking, like my older sister and my younger sister, who are both much more adept bakers than I am, have debated about, maybe the amount of flour in the recipe was a mistake. They didn't put enough or something like that. Um, because I think Naomi had made them, and she said she ended up like kneading more flour into the dough to make it even possible to handle it. And also when I was a kid, one of the things my mom did was she had misread the recipe at one point, and was putting in more sour cream than the recipe actually called for, because when we would make the cookies, they would puff up really huge, and they were wonderful. Um, they because they're very light and fluffy, and they absorb, like if you dunk them in milk or eat them with a glass of milk, they absorb the milk really well, and they're wonderful. And so she would make these, and they would be big and fat and puffy, and then she would as before she baked them, she put red or green sprinkles on them or whatever, and so they were wonderful. So it's been a tradition in our family forever to make these sour cream cookies, except that, like I said, they're notoriously very sticky. And so and at one point she realized she was putting too much sour cream in them, so they're not quite as puffy as they were when we were kids. But but so like I said, my sisters have been thinking that maybe it needs to have more flour in it, so that it's when you make the dough itself, so that you can handle it. Um, so anyway, that's something that I was like, last night, I guess. Um, my sister Eve and her son Rob, I had come out at one point to do something, and they said something. I think Eve said something like, Robert says you should make some sour cream cookies. And I'm like, oh, you know, I haven't looked at the recipe in ages, in a year, probably at least, uh, maybe 2 years. Um, and so I'm like, yeah, I guess I could. And I don't know why. I guess I think Eve's made them maybe once a long time ago. That's one of the few things I can make. Right, I can make green chili chicken stew that I made the other night, a couple weeks ago. I can make Spanish rice. I can make what I call fake enchiladas. um, uh, um, it's yeah, the way I made them when I was living on my own in Little Rock. I did what I called subsistence cooking so I don't starve to death. But I can fry an egg. I can make really good fried eggs, poached eggs, um, uh, spaghetti. Everybody can make spaghetti. Um, Things like that. Um, a handful of recipes that I make fairly well. I don't do a lot of baking. Um, I can make Bob and Larry salad. I think like I said, I could probably fill a teeny little cookbook with a handful of recipes that I can make. But yeah. But one of the things I've made in the past is those sour cream cookies. One time, I think I made them when my parents came to visit me. I think the first year that I lived here in Phoenix. I had moved out here in October, and that Christmas, my parents, I think, came to visit me or something, or maybe they came. Yeah, I guess it was for Christmas. I don't know. They came to visit me, but I had made the sour cream cookies that year. Um, but and I think I made them like one of the years that we lived here in Phoenix. After my parents moved out here, I made them at some point, I think. Um, but like I said, I don't remember the last time I made them. And that's something that I have to really think about because I'm not, much of a baker, and we'd be making them here in the new house, and I'm like, I don't know where anything is. I don't know, I don't know what I'm doing. So it remains to be seen whether or not I'm going to get around to making the cookies, and I have to make them soon because the Christmas is what, Wednesday, Thursday this week, this coming week. Um, yeah, so I have to, and you have to make, prepare the dough the day before so they can chill in the refrigerator, and then it's a long process of rolling them out and cutting the dough and then baking them and all that jazz. That'll take all day long. So maybe if I make the dough tomorrow or Monday and make the cookies on Tuesday, yeah. So it remains to be seen whether I'll get around to making the sour cream sugar cookies. Um, my sister Naomi was talking about how she made some for. They had like a little Christmas party at work, and so she made these little boxes of cookies for her colleagues because she didn't have very many people in the office. But she has a very funny tale. You should watch our video tomorrow on Sunday. She talks about how all the different kinds of cookies she made. But she made the dough for these sour cream sugar cookies, and she made like three lumps of this dough. She had it in three sections in the refrigerator, and so she used one of them to make the cookies that she gave to her colleagues, and so she has more dough, and that she's gonna make cookies for, I guess, for the party that we're gonna have on Christmas Eve. So if I make if I make them, I will probably make them for us here at the house. So yeah, I don't know. But if I don't make them, there can be some at the at our Christmas party, I think. So you know, I don't know. It remains to be seen. It remains to be seen. Anyway, I think that is all I have um, this week, and so have a great Christmas, um, and whatever holidays you celebrate in the next few days, um, and I kind of I was thinking of doing a finish parade, um, maybe next week, um, as well as just finishing up my whips. I don't know. Maybe the whips I will wait until the end of the month. Well, no, the 20th is. I mean, the 27th next Saturday is the end of the month because December ends. um, maybe I'll do. I don't know. I might do an extra video on Wednesday as a whip parade, or maybe I'll do a whip parade in January, the first Saturday in January, to show what I'll be working on. I know, I still haven't done my WIPGO board for next year. That's one thing I haven't thought through. Like, what am I going to work on? What whips I'm going to do? Because, like I said, a lot of my stuff is still in storage. A lot of my cross stitch stuff, and so I have a bunch of new starts. I could do all new starts. I could. I have more than enough new starts, but I I'm still working on my cottage garden samplings, year in the woods animals. So I think those are definitely going on my WIPGO board for next year, and that's I've finished two of them. So of the 12, I have 10 now, and a couple of them are very close to being finished. Um, so it's conceivable that I could finish two more of them perhaps next year. But anyway, so those 10 I want to put on my WIPGO board, um, and like maybe I could do all blue flower things, um, uh, um, like this festive forest, like the winter woods biscornu, um, other things like that. Um, I'll have to look at what I have. I could very easily, I have very easily have 25 things I could work on. But um, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But so that's what I'm thinking of uh, putting on my WIPGO board for next year. Um, at least the year in the woods animals, and maybe I have those Stacy Nash animal crackers started. I have three of them, and then one that I bought at the Jingle Ball. I don't know. So I have a few days to think about it, but I think next weekend I will do a finish parade, um, and then a whip parade maybe the first weekend of January, the first Saturday in January. Um, yeah. So we'll see. So anyway, like I said, in the meantime, have a great Christmas, great holidays this weekend, and I will see you afterward on the 27th. Preparing for. I'm not planning on doing like necessarily like a New Year's New Start kind of thing. Maybe. Um, but I will definitely be trying to work on my WIPGO board for 2026, so that I know what I'm doing. I really need the prompts and the direction, and the decision making made by the WIPGO board. You know, Jessie Marie calls the numbers, and I do with the numbers. What are in my boxes for my numbers, except for this, except for poor Prairie School Shanta. Um, but so for me, decision making, the more options I have, the harder it is for me to decide what I want to work on, right? And so so having the decision taken away from me, made by someone else, makes it easier for me. Somebody says, "Oh, do number 25." Okay. That's make takes the decision away from me. There's something already in box number 25, and that's what I'm going to work on because that's what's called. So so having a WIPGO board really helps me get through all those whips without me having to decide what am I going to work on this week, you know, um, and having a goal of 7 days um, gives me some flexibility. I can, in a month, there's two projects that have 7 days each. That's only half the month. I've got, like this year I did, excuse me, a new start in each square also. So it gave me a little bit of time to maybe take a day or two or a week or two on my new starts, depending on whatever else I had going on besides my WIPGO stitching. And so, um, it gives me some flexibility to play with. I can do a little bit longer than 7 days on a given project if I'm close to a finish, for instance, or if I'm really enjoying myself. So, but having the projects on the WIPGO board really helps me, and it has helped me get through a lot of things and finish a lot of things. So I really, really, really am having fun with the WIPGO thing. And I know there's lots of games and lots of prompts and lots of ideas out there about how to determine what you're going to work on. Like my sister Eve is doing Flosstube Frenzy, where if you associate a given project with the floss tube, um, or what that you watch regularly, and so whenever that person, like Stitching with the Housewives, for instance, if they post a video, you do whatever project you have associated with them, and so you do that for all the floss tubes that you regularly watch or whatever. You pick one and pick a project to associate with it. So whenever that person posts a video, you work on that project. And that's working really well for her. And that's a nice idea. So for some people, that's something like that may work. For me, WIPGO works really well. So I have to come up with my new WIPGO board for next year. Anyway, so that's what my plans are. So for next Saturday again, Whip Parade. I'll probably do a quick update of my stitching because the month will be almost over, and we'll see what I'm working on. Um, but so next Saturday, hopefully a finish parade, and then the Saturday after that will be January, and I'll probably try to start with maybe I'll do a whip parade either uh, that Saturday, the whatever that is, the third of January, third fourth of January, or I'll do a special separate video that's a whip parade because I kind of have a lot of whips. So a whip parade might take a long time. We'll see. Anyway, that's my plans for the next couple weeks. And I think that's it. So I will see you next week. Thanks for watching, and bye. Have a great holiday.